So this week has been a bit difficult, to be honest. I was feeling very restless. I've had a few days when I just wanted to cry and I just couldn't do it. And then in the last 3 days, I've been crying and feeling angry and just frustrated and lots of things. And I didn't even understand why I was feeling that way. I was like, what is happening? And then it clicked at some point. I have a trip coming tomorrow. I'm going away for 2 weeks. And I'm going to be with people, most of whom I don't know, never met before. I'm going to do, it's like a work trip, but also like a fun trip. It's a mix. And so I'm going to do a project that I want to do it well. And so there was a lot of fears in the back of my mind that I wasn't even thinking about consciously about what's going to happen, anticipating these 2 weeks living with people. Is it going to go okay? Am I going to be feeling anxious? What if I feel low and they notice it? What if they think I'm weird? What if I don't click? What if the project doesn't do well? Lots of fears that, again, I was thinking about all the things, and it was quite a busy week. And but in the back of my mind, those wounds were being triggered. The wounds of like what people will think of me, or I'm unlovable, or I will not be accepted, whatever you want to call it. And the wound of I'm not good enough, or I'm not capable. And so it made me think again, something that I already know, but this was such a clear example of how these things, when you talk about them, sometimes even with mental health professionals, but let's not even get into that, with people, if you express these things like, I'm feeling anxious because I have this trip and I have these fears and I haven't been sleeping well, I feel really anxious and restless. And you do that because you seek support, you seek to be understood. There's nothing they can do about it. They're not going to fix anything. You just want to be understood and supported. But what you receive is comments about how you need to think this, you need to think that, but think this way, don't think that way, think this, think that. And what's very frustrating about this is that thoughts can add fear, can add to the fear, but they're not the origin of it. Because in this case, very clearly, I was feeling all these things without even knowing why. I was not understanding why I was feeling this way. I was like, it kind of came out of nowhere, and I was like, I couldn't get it. Or sometimes this has happened to me as well. I have, normal day, I feel quite calm, I go to bed, and then in the middle of the night, I wake up with intense fear and like a panic attack and stuff. Clearly, I wasn't thinking anything. And this is something that is so hard to understand, sometimes even by the people. Like I was very thought focused for many, many years. This is why I believe talk therapy didn't really work for me, because I was hyper focused on changing behavior and changing like thought patterns, but without really working on with my emotions, which was driving all of this. Like the anxious thoughts were there because there was an anxious feeling in my body, or the sad thoughts were there because there was a sad emotion in my body. And obviously these thoughts can feed those emotions. If I feed the fear, if I think, oh my god, it's gonna go horrible and it's gonna be terrible, like I'm feeding that fear, and the fear feeds the fearful thoughts, and they feed one another. Yes, that is true, but the origin of it are not those thoughts. Those thoughts are a secondary event, for lack of a better word. And now that I understand that, and I see it more and more clearly, because when I started doing that separation, I was like, okay, I can be less swallowed by these negative thoughts because I can have some separation from it. So it's like, okay. So those thoughts started to lose so much weight, let's say, but still the emotions are there. The heaviness in the body is there. The pressure in the chest is there. The weight in my shoulders is there. The tightness in my heart is there. And when I love at this point, I love to be understood. I know that I am doing my best, and I have been doing my best for a long time, to not feel so fearful, to not allow all these things to kind of swallow me whole. But I cannot fully control it. It's not fully like, let's say, if I want to write a word, I can just pick a pen and write the word. I can control that and make it happen. This is not that easy. It's not something I can do quickly, overnight. There's a part of it that you need to kind of allow it to happen, or facilitate it happening, let's say, but you cannot force it to happen. It's a little bit like, imagine you have, I don't know, diabetes, and you're doing everything you can. You're like drinking water, you're exercising, you're eating healthily, but that doesn't make your diabetes go away. You cannot fully control that. It can be better, but you're still maybe gonna have crisis when you have a lot of stress, or I don't know. And imagine that happens, and then when you express, like, I'm feeling really tired today, and I just want to lay down, and you express it because you just want to feel understood and supported, because we're human and that is a human need. And then instead of receiving that, they keep telling you need to try harder, you need to drink water, you need to just be more positive. And it's like, this is not it. And we understand that when it comes to physical illnesses, at least the ones that we understand. When it comes to physical stuff like fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue syndrome, I think it's the same as this. People don't get it. It's so invisible and misunderstood that it's like, but you just need to try harder, or be positive, or, we all get tired. You just need to get over it. And so I think it's the same. That people try, I guess, to give you a good advice because they want to see you feel better. But it's not, that advice is not useful. And also there's an element of shame and guilt that you feel, because it's like as if you're not doing enough, as if in some way you're in this situation because you want to, or you're not trying hard enough to get out of that, or you are making it happen somehow with your negative thinking. And also, like, there's the implication that it's not as like heavy or difficult to deal with as you make it to be. You just need to not worry so much about it, or just get over it, or there are bigger problems out there. It's like, yes, there are bigger problems out there. There are bigger problems than diabetes as well, but that doesn't make people with diabetes just get over it. It doesn't happen that way. And the lack of acceptance from the self and others, at least that's what happens to me, and I believe I'm not the only one. It adds an extra layer of pain that is not needed, because on top of what you're already feeling, for whatever reasons, your trauma stuff, whatever it is, in my case, I have a tremendous fear of what other people think, or other people, how they're going to perceive me, how they're going to react to me, if they're going to abandon me, if they're going to get angry at me. I have a tremendous fear of that. And that wakes up a very anxious, beyond anxious, like anguish in me. And that is not going to go away with just thinking. So don't do that. Don't, if you're a person that is listening to someone who is doing something about it, if it's the person that is not doing anything about it, is always complaining about everything, but doesn't want to try any solution, not therapy, not reading books, not doing nothing at all, then I understand you get upset, because I get upset as well with that type of passive attitude. But if you know there's someone that they're trying, but for some reason they cannot fully get out of there, have some grace and compassion and think like, oh my God, this must be difficult. If they're trying, maybe it's not happening to me. I don't understand what it feels like, because it doesn't happen to me. But I see it in them, and I see how much they're trying, and they're still not getting out of there. It must be, wow, it must be tougher than I think. It must be more difficult than I think. That would be, look, a sigh of relief. That would be wonderful. Wonderful. And so, yeah, that is my advice. If you want to talk, if you want people who are struggling with lack of self-confidence, lack of self-esteem, anxiety, and they're trying, and they're struggling, and sometimes it gets overwhelming. Sometimes it's too much. This week I just got overwhelmed. I was so overwhelmed. This morning I was so overwhelmed. I was like, it's like I'm feeling like I am again in this place. Like I'm trying so hard. I'm doing so many things. I'm allowing now. I'm like, and suddenly it's like, oh my God, here I am again with this intense feeling of fear for a situation that I've exposed myself to 100 times now, with this intense feeling of hopelessness and aloneness, like, oh my God, that people don't understand. It's like, it's hard. Sometimes there are crises, and it's tough. It's very tough. And feeling understood and accepted, feeling that somebody sees you and understands, it's like taking a pill, but a good one that has no side effects. It's wonderful. It's like, okay, at least I don't have to add to that fear more layers of shame and guilt and etc. So that's my video for today. My name is Maria, and I've struggled with my mental health almost all my life. I was a very fearful kid, and then that, when I became a teenager, that developed into depression and anxiety and many other things. And I believe I am on my way out. I want to say that. I want to believe it. And mainly I want to work on, I like to do something for people that feel the way I feel or similar ways, to understand themselves and to feel understood, because we need the community. We need others. And isolation just makes everything worse. When isolation is because you feel that there's no place for you, when isolation happens because you think you're not accepted, because when you've tried to connect, you've only received pain. So because of that, you decide that you better isolate. I think that we need to change that. And it's not just us as individuals that suffer this, but also we need the others to be also understanding, so we can do the healing process and be our imperfect selves with our wounds and our diabetes, our emotional diabetes, and still be part of the group. So join me.